also want to talk about another important aspect of beingfulness, and that is beingful work. And so, many of us are working in situations where we feel this sense of, what is this all worth it? Are we here just for the money? And sometimes the money is also not good enough. And we're always chasing deadlines. We're always on a treadmill in a way. We're, pressure of getting things done, pressure of, work overload, doing much more than what we're capable of, bosses putting pressure on us, team workers, the politics behind the workplace, and so on. So all this leads to this sense of, is this worth it? If only I could just throw this away and, perhaps do what I've always wanted to do. Perhaps it was to go teach in a school or to do some social work or healthcare, whatever it is that we dream of. We often find ourselves in that setting, especially in this pandemic, where we also worried, is the kind of work I'm doing really what I want to do in my life? Is this at all purposeful? Is this meaningful? So these kinds of questions come up. And I've been there many times when I was an entrepreneur. And when things really became bad, it would be, did I give up this comfortable, challenging life in academia, where I was stimulated mentally in terms of intellectually challenging and physically comfortable life? Was it all worth it to give up all that and to plunge into this setting where everything was seemingly out of control? Everything was difficult. And so I'd lie awake in the night worrying, is this really what I wanted to do? Did I make a big mistake? That often happens. So in those kinds of settings, it helps, and I've learned it helps to think of work in a more holistic way, to think of work what I call as beingful work. And that is, can you make this work? Can you do it in such a way that your whole self is at work? And to identify work really that meets the needs of your whole self. There is, of course, a material aspect. It needs to give us enough money. But often just that is not good enough. It doesn't stimulate us. It doesn't give us a sense of purpose. So you need also work that is psychologically suited to us. It gives us a sense of control, some autonomy, more independence in how you make decisions, and intellectual stimulation. It's amazing how independent of the field that you're in, we're human beings who want to be stimulated intellectually, creatively. So that's the psychological aspect of work. And also we are human beings who want others to work with us. We want to be in teams. We want to have the comfort of social relationships. That's something that the pandemic has really affected. We're not there with other people, drinking coffee with them, having lunch with them, talking to them in cubicles. So all that is missing. So that's a key part of our work, the social side of it. And for those of us who care about nature and the environment, that too is an important part. Are we doing at work something that has a positive impact on nature? That too might matter, and it does matter to me and to others. And then finally, a very important part of work is what I call the higher self aspects. Are we doing the right thing at work? Is the work we're doing morally the right thing? Does it align with what we care about? For me, that's always been a concern. I've been in situations, and when you sell products to customers, you're often put in difficult situations. You often have to do things that might be morally incorrect. I remember once, this was about 12 years ago, when I was working on a solar energy project. And I was working with a county in developing solar energy. And there was a developer who was favored by that county. And so we had a lawyer on the county side, and the developer had another lawyer. And it became a situation where the developer wanted the same lawyer for both of us, both the county and the developer. And I was objecting to it, saying this is not the right thing. We need two separate legal counsels. But there's a lot of pressure put to make it just one legal counsel. And I remember I was in a city, and I finally gave in to all that pressure and said, yes, let's go with it. Because the developer was putting pressure, the county officials were putting pressure on me. And I said, yes, let's go with it. And a few minutes later, I started throwing up. I started really feeling this physical revulsion for what I had just done. And that really told me that at a fundamental level, there's something that connects our physical with what we think is right. And not to let go of that, to at some level cultivate that sense of what is the right thing to do. Because that's something our body craves, our being craves at a fundamental level. So that's something that we should consider in our work. Are we doing the right thing? Are we putting ourselves into situations where it goes against our fundamental nature? And then there's, of course, the sense of, is our work a kind of calling for us? Are we called upon to do this? Are we uniquely qualified to do this? Is something about the way we lived, the way we valued things, our upbringing, what we care about the world? Is that what is exemplified by this work? If you were not there, would someone else do this work as well as you would? And if the answer is no, then that perhaps is a sense of calling. You feel uniquely qualified to do something, whatever it may be. It may be a small project. It might be a small task that may not make a big difference to the world. Or it might be a grand project. It might be something that transforms the lives of thousands of people. But regardless, ask yourself, is there a calling that you are expressing through this work? So these are all the different things we bring to work. Our material side, our psychological side, our social side, our natural side, our relationships with nature, our moral side, and the sense of calling or something inside you deeply aligned. So when you begin to see work this way, that it's really, there's some fundamental needs you have as a human being, as a being. And these needs get fulfilled through work, where we spend half a life in it. Then if you evaluate work from that way, what I've seen in my life, in all the different occupations I've been, is that it leads to a lot more meaning. You get much more engaged with your work. You bring a lot of energy to your work. You wake up in the morning thinking, wow, this is something I'm excited by. You lie awake at night thinking how I can do this better. So that kind of engagement, that kind of energy, it's positive energy, and that kind of meaning that you get, I've realized actually contributes to your well-being. So not only are you more engaged in meaning and you find work to be meaningful, but your own well-being, your whole well-being increases. You feel you do better in life in terms of your satisfaction with your life. You look back at your life and think that, wow, I did something meaningful. It may not have gone the way I expected it to. I may not have made the money I expected to make from it. I may even have gone broke from it. This happened to me a couple of times, almost went broke in life, financially insolvent. But regardless of that, as I look back at it, I think, wow, I did something that I really care about. And that sense of flourishing in life, that sense of well-being, those things are deeply tied to the meaning and the engagement that you have with work. And that in turn is deeply tied to how you see work. Is this a means to fulfill the needs that you have as a human being? To think that way. And that's what I call as your whole self at work. It's not new. It's something that others have also talked about. And that's what I call as beingful work. Beingful work is work that fulfills the needs of the whole being you are at work. And if that can happen, then work becomes a means to well-being, becomes a means to meaning and engagement. So I highly encourage people to look at work that way, to have those kinds of expectations and be willing to leave work if it doesn't meet those needs. You have one life to live. You might as well find work, as I have done. I spent 30 years looking for the right kind of work. So to spend that time to find work that